Hey guys, Nick here. Thanks for coming by. Um, I'm kind of doing a series right now with some hard truths and some kind of uncomfortable things that people don't really like to talk about in association with maybe their diagnosis or their current situation. And in one of my previous videos, I talked about the cold hard truth that that people don't really want to talk about, and this one is kind of branching off of that. And this has more to do with kind of personal feelings that I feel like certainly happen with me, and happen with a lot of people who share the cirrhosis diagnosis or the liver disease. And a lot of it comes from what was the actual cause of their diagnosis. Now, as always, I'm going to speak from my point of view because, as you guys know, my liver disease is caused from years and years of alcohol abuse, and so I can't necessarily speak to the issue of people that have had their liver disease caused from medications they've been prescribed, or just a genetic issue that they have that was no fault of their own. So here I'm going to kind of talk about uh, the feeling of, am I being punished because I drank alcohol? Am I being punished by the medical community, or am I being put on the back burner a little bit? Do I not deserve the right to live just the same as everybody else? And I've had several people kind of talk to me about it, and it's something that I struggle with kind of a lot. So the purpose of this video is to kind of address the fact of, okay, I've made a lot of changes in my life now for the better. Why am I still being punished? And specifically what I mean is, I've personally been clean from alcohol for almost 2 years now. And that's a huge thing for me. I never thought that would be possible. And when I was first diagnosed, even if it hadn't been because of alcohol, a liver transplant wouldn't have been possible for me because my kidneys were in horrible shape as well. And we had to fix the kidneys before the liver could really be addressed. So it was really, really a very fragile situation. And what happens is through that first 6 or 7 months, when I was just trying to basically not die. I was here at home, I was on hospice care, just trying to put all of the time frames that were given to me as far as my prognosis goes, just kind of in the back of my mind. A month, 2 months, 3 months. I was just trying to live. And when I made my first trip to Vanderbilt to speak with my transplant doctors and my transplant team, I had been about 7 months sober at that time, 6 or 7 months, give or take. I don't remember exactly. But I was going thinking, okay, I've been 6 months sober. I've showed them, that I'm not drinking anymore. I'm still, around, obviously. I've gotten a little bit better. I'm still requiring paracentesis, but now we can really start talking about transplant. And I really got humbled and really kind of heartbroken a bit after that first visit, because they didn't tell me, okay, we're going to get you set for transplant. This is the plan moving forward. Instead, there was a long list of things that I had to continue, and a long list of things that I had to do. Some of them were medical procedures, some of them were vaccinations, and I'll get to the biggest one here in a minute. But there were things like I had to get all of my hepatitis vaccination, that whole series done. I wasn't one that normally got the flu shot. I had to get my flu shot. I was required to get the COVID vaccination at that time just to be able to come into the hospital. I'm not going to get into whether you agree or disagree with vaccines. It's really not the purpose of this video. But in order to go into this specific medical facility at that time, it was a requirement. I had to have endoscopies or upper GI scopes. I had to have colonoscopies. I had to have fiber scans. I had to have ultrasounds. I had to, go through a period where I had no ascites, and that was still months down the road because I was still having regular paracentesis. So I left that appointment really, really discouraged and really angry. The last thing that they told me that I had to do was I had to attend a rehab facility for alcohol use, and I actually had to complete that program. Now, in previous videos that I've done, I've talked about, I went into inpatient rehab 3 different times during my battle with alcoholism. And would get sober, for a few months, but was never, sober for a long period of time. So I knew what that meant, and I was pissed off because I wasn't physically capable of going away, somewhere for 30 days or 60 days to go through an inpatient rehab program. I had too many medical needs. I had too many appointments. I had too many medications. I just had all this stuff that I wasn't able to do. So it felt like that they were giving me, basically a task that they knew that I couldn't complete. So what I ended up doing, and it took several appointments with my primary care physician, with Vanderbilt, and a lot of other stuff to get approved. But I found a recovery group called Lion Rock of Recovery. I'm not giving a plug to them, but it was the best program that I'd ever found and got the most out of. And it was actually completely online. So I was able to do it from home. And I got Vanderbilt's approval that if I completed that program, then that would meet their required criteria for the rehab required for the transplant. So I went into that program, and it took me, I really took my time going through it because I met some amazing people. And it took me about really 6 months to fully complete the program with aftercare as well. And I'm still actually kind of active from a volunteer standpoint online with that group as far as attending meetings and things like that. But what it basically entailed was, me every day online for 3 hours. I say every day, but it was 3 days a week for 3 hours, and then online therapy, and for an additional hour each week. And there was assignments, and cognitive behavioral therapy, and just a big slew of things that I had to do. And once I completed all that, I thought, okay, now I've completed all the protocol now. It's been a year since my diagnosis. Now I'm going to be able to get listed and get my transplant. And that ended up not being the case because my health had improved, not to the point that I could work or anything like that, but it wasn't an urgent need that I had to have a transplant right now. So then I really felt like they were plotting against me. I felt looked at as, no, he's going to relapse again. You're not ready for a transplant yet because your liver hasn't completely shut down. And so then I got into this mindset of, okay, are they just waiting for me to die? Are they just putting me off? And I'm going to do a video a little bit later on about that specific topic as well. But, I felt like I was being punished because I was an alcoholic. And that really, really hurt because there's a lot of pain and anguish and self-loathing that goes along with with being an alcoholic, even being a functional alcoholic, and being a sober alcoholic as well, because you already feel like an outcast in a lot of ways when you're, I call it out in the wild, when you're, just kind of out in public in general. I have a lot of places that I feel comfortable, and sometimes being in public is one of them, and sometimes it's not. And I always felt like when I was going to the doctor somewhere that I was always getting a kind of a snide look. It's like, oh, here comes this drunk, that I'm supposed to spend your time helping when I've got all these other people, that don't drink, or don't abuse their body, that need help. And and I still feel that way, sometimes. I have one doctor that is an important doctor, and I won't go into their name. It's not my primary care or anything like that. But we don't necessarily see eye to eye. Our personalities just don't get along, and it took a year and a half, for us to kind of build that relationship. And I really felt like to this position, I really specifically had to prove, that I was serious about getting healthy, because this specific doctor would say to Carrie when I was in the hospital, just reminding her constantly how sick I was, and didn't really have much hope for me even leaving the hospital, let alone recovering to the point that I am now. And that's really something that I had to constantly battle with. So I had to turn that around in a way to kind of and it's the Italian in me, that comes out that's like, I'll show you, bitch, I'll prove you wrong. It's going to take a lot more than that to keep me down, and I'm very stubborn in that sense, and I'm very bullheaded. If I feel like that I'm right, and I really take it personally when I feel like that I'm being looked looked down at, or someone thinks they're better than me, and I think that that's where a lot of it comes from. You feel like you're being punished because I mean, let's face it. I mean, if somebody came in that needed a liver, that didn't abuse their self with alcohol, or other substances that got them to that point, the fact of the matter is that they're going to come before me as far as if a liver becomes available. If we're an identical match, they're going to get that liver before I am. I mean, that's just the truth. And that's hard to accept. So it's like, am I being punished? And the answer is no, you're not directly or deliberately being punished, but you have more to prove. You certainly have more to prove. If someone has betrayed your trust, or if somebody has a constant habit, of a certain behavior, or of doing a certain thing, it takes a long time of adjusted actions and adjusted behavior, for them to get that trust, and that's the same with your medical providers, and in a lot of cases, if you work hard, to get yourself healthy and the doctors see that stuff, you'll find that, in a lot of cases, not all, but in a lot of cases, the need for a transplant or certain things can be pushed off, for into the future, and it's not immediate, and that's something that I've had to come to accept, that there are going to be days that I feel like crap, there are going to be days when I'm in a bad mood, I mean, there are just going to be days that suck, and today's not necessarily one of those days. I'm not in the best of moods, but I'm not in a bad mood either. And that's where I have to really be careful and kind of make sure that I'm staying on the right path, because if I start going into that self-pity type mindset, that's very, very bad, because the choices that I start making when I start feeling sorry for myself are detrimental, not just to myself, but oftentimes to others. If I'm staying on, that right path, if I'm going to my meetings, if I'm meeting my appointments, if I'm taking all my medication when I'm supposed to, that's keeping me on the right path. And and that's really all that I can do. You know, so that's where I'm going to kind of stop this video in regards to feeling if you're punished. It's not being punished. It's you have to fix certain things about yourself before you can take that next step, because getting a liver or getting an organ or getting a body part is a huge it's a it's it's a huge branch, or a huge reach out, and it's having a lot of faith, put in you as an individual, as the recipient, to take care of that. And and people have to be sure, I mean, they just do. Healthcare providers don't take this kind of stuff lightly, and nor should they. It's a very, very serious thing. So guys, as always, I love you all. Appreciate you. In the description box below is a link to our Facebook group for end-stage liver disease, cirrhosis support. Got family members there, have caretakers there, patients there, all different kinds of viewpoints, different diagnoses of the liver, different causes. So, guys, I can't say it enough. It's become a large, amazing group with a active group chat, and people that have really started to take involvement in each other's lives, and it's become a great thing, much more awesome than I expected it to be. So, guys, I hope you all have a great day. As always, I appreciate you coming by and hanging out with me for a little while, and I'll talk to you later.